Coming up, we'll hear how Power Platform, Dataverse and SAP are being brought together to streamline the general ledger entry process with faster processing times and higher quality data. Stay tuned. Thank you for joining us on our very first episode in our series focused on customers in Europe. And in this special series, we needed something a little extra special as well. So joining me for the very first time is the lovely Devon Allen.
Thank you. It is so great to be here. As someone who's responsible for driving our data center expansions around Europe, it's always great to see how our customers are taking advantage of the breadth of capabilities provided by the Microsoft Cloud to be more agile and digitally resilient.
That's right. And you know what? We have a really special story focused on just that today. EY is going to be sharing how they're streamlining the ledger entry process for their business, enabling faster end-of-month processing with higher data quality and less processing time. Let's take a look at their video.
EY is a global organization that employs more than 360,000 professionals, serves more than 200,000 clients, and operates in 150 countries. We provide consulting, assurance, tax, and transaction services to help solve our clients' toughest challenges and build a better working world for all. PowerPost is a reinvention of how traditional finance teams prepare, review, and send off journals to their general ledger. It serves as a user-friendly one-stop shop for finance professionals with functionalities such as real-time dashboard, built-in approval workflow, on-screen validation, and near-instant processing speeds. With PowerPost, the general ledger posting process is easier, faster, and more accurate than ever before. Some of the benefits we've been able to achieve includes a 95% reduction in end-to-end lead time, a 30% reduction in operational cost, and a 100% reduction in email and Excel usage. We chose to build PowerPost on Microsoft Azure with Microsoft Power Platform because those two solutions encompass everything we need to build a really strong solution.
We're joined today by Daront Chea, Assistant Director for the Nordic Hub and Product Manager for PowerPost. Daront, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Great to be here.
Now, we saw a little bit in that video about how EY and PowerPost and what they're doing together. But before we jump into the app development process, I wanted to go back to the start and really kind of dive into what led EY to develop PowerPost in the first place.
Yeah, so this project sort of came from the marrying of two teams. So it was our team, internal Power Platform team, and the global finance team. At that time, we had issues with the general hosting process where our users were spending a lot of time entering manual data. We had high licensing costs for software that we were using as well. And we had a third-party vendor that was doing a little bit of the processing as well. And we wanted to demonstrate the power of low-code for this global process that we had.
Thank you for sharing. So what drove you to use Power Platform and more specifically Power Apps as the technology to address these challenges?
Yeah, so this was because we wanted to use bleeding-edge technology with low-code. We wanted to give our users a digital experience as well, which is something that they didn't have before using Excel and manual entry. At that time, we also had the SAP connector that was in preview, so we also wanted to get our hands on that.
So what drove you to use Power Platform and more specifically Power Apps as the technology to address these challenges?
Yeah, so I'm from a low-code development team, so I really wanted to showcase the power of low-code at a global level. We were also met by some business challenges with our current process being highly error-prone due to manual entry. We were using a lot of third-party vendors to help with the processing, and there were a lot of software costs that were increasing the following year. So we wanted to shave the fat there.
Now, as mentioned, you're part of the Nordic Tech Hub, but you also needed to bring along other parts of the business as well. Can you take us through how this came together?
Yeah, so this project was a marrying of three teams. So our team, a low-code development team, the global finance team, which ran the process, and the SAP tech team. Through working together, we were able to develop this solution.
I love it because this is a great example of what we at Microsoft like to call fusion development, where you bring together both those business-focused and technology teams together to help achieve that goal. Now, no doubt there were some challenges in bringing those teams together as well. Can you maybe take us through what they look like and if there was any pushback and how you changed their mind?
Yeah, so I think one of the major pushbacks that we had was from the SAP team. Because this was low code and for a global process, they were very hard to convince in terms of bringing this solution out. So one of the things that we did in the very beginning was actually showcase the value of low code and how fast this could be, the digital transformation it meant for our processing teams. And we did that through a POC of a very simple app built on SharePoint lists in a test SAP environment, showcasing the speed of how quick a document could be posted.
Now that must have generated some excitement when they saw the potential for the reduction in time to post an entry. Are you able to show us what this process looks like now?
Absolutely. So as you can see here, we are on the PowerPost main screen. In the top left there's a news section. So that is like centrally controlled by our global finance team and is really useful when there's updates or embargoes on SAP. On the on start of the screen, there's actually a flow that runs in the background that actually gets the environments that my user has access to. So if I go ahead and select the drop down in the middle there, you can see all of the environments that I have available. So I'm going to go ahead and select PP3 and select Login. And what's happening now is there's actually a flow that is running in the background to actually receive my user access that I have available in SAP in this PP3 environment. So now I'm here on the dashboard screen. I'm on the Not Yet Posted tab. So this tab will show any kind of document that I have not yet posted, so anything that might be in draft or has errors. I also have a To Approve tab just next to it. So that will show me any kind of documents that other users have submitted to me that I need to review and approve. And then my third tab there is my posting history. So these are all the documents that I have posted in the past, which I can view here for reference. So we'll go ahead and create a new document. So at the top, if I select New Document, I am prompted with an input method. So we have two main input methods. So we can create a single document. So that's really useful for our users who just need to create a quick document. And we also have the multiple documents method, which is useful for month-end closure, where our users need to create a lot of documents at one time. It's our probably favorite feature, actually. So I'll go ahead and select a T-code. And again, as I mentioned, the T-codes that are available here are the ones that I actually have access to in SAP. So I'll select FB50. I'll select Create. And then now we are on the document creation screen. So the first part I need to fill out is the document header. The drop-downs there I have are company code, so I'll go ahead and select that. I'll select GB01. I'll select a document date. I'll just select today's date. Posting date, I'll do the same. Period, I'll leave blank. Document type, I'll select SA. Currency, I'll select British pound. And I'll leave the others blank. So what you kind of noticed there as I was selecting those fields is there was a yellow box around the input box, and that's actually our validation working there. So oftentimes when our users are filling in documents in our previous process, they were just doing some typos and things like that. So that actually gets caught by SAP, and then they would have to go back and redo it again. So we're trying to catch those errors early on. I'll go ahead and select that yellow button there. And then what's happening now is it's actually creating a draft document for me in Dataverse. So it's now given me an ID, and it said that this current document is in draft status. In the line item section below, it's already created 2 lines for me because all of our documents need to balance, and naturally to do so they need 2 lines. And we have all of these fields that the user can populate. Now, of course, if the document is rather small, I would say our users can populate the document in this app itself, but we've also given our users the ability to import lines from Excel which is what they're really used to, and to also create a document from a previous posted document, which is useful if our users have like recurring documents that they need to post. So I'll go ahead and select the reference document and select an ID. So what it's done now is actually pulled 2 lines from the document that I created before. I can also go ahead and create a new line if I would like. It's populated already, the company code. I don't know the GL account for this line, so maybe I'll search it up with the master data search in the top. Here I have a whole bunch of GL accounts that I can search from. If I search 3944, it's going to show me the accounts that are related to 3944. And this is really useful for our users who are relatively new to PowerPost and maybe relatively new to EY and don't know how to create journals. So it's a useful feature for that. I know I need to use 3944, so I'll enter that. I'll enter an amount and a long text. So now our user needs to validate the journal. So in the bottom right there's a validate button, and I'll just select that. And then now that I've validated, it's actually given me a validation error. So this is extremely useful for our users and our process because the validation portion actually captures all of the errors early on, whereas in the previous process that we had, these wouldn't be catched until it gets submitted to SAP, which meant the user needs to go back and start the process all over again. And I can see that the error says that the document is not balanced. So I'll just go ahead and create that new line that I created, and I'll validate that again, and then now it's successful. So I'll go ahead and select Finalize, and here it's asking me to add an attachment if I would like to do that. I can also add a comment if I would like to come back to this later, but I won't do that today. I'll just select Submit. And then now what's happening is that the header and the line items are being written to Dataverse, and I'm navigated back to the dashboard screen. And you can see that the document status is approved because I had no approvals. So it's actually now being posted to SAP. What I would also like to show is the multiple documents method. This is extremely useful, as I said, where we have month-end closure or a user just generally wants to create multiple documents at once and post them all at once. Or they just simply want to use Excel and work in Excel and use PowerPost as just a way to upload documents. So here I'll select the T code again. I'll select FB50. I'll select Create. And then now it's asking me to attach a file. So I can attach a file that I've prepared previously, and then I'll select Upload. So what's happening now is this file is being saved to the database, and all of the data from the file is actually being extracted into a collection in the app. And what you're seeing now is just a summary of the multiple documents that I've loaded. In fact, I've had 3 documents in that file. They were all for GB01 company code, and they all had 2 lines each. I know this file is right because that's the one I created. So I'll go ahead and post all of these 3 documents. Now we're back on the dashboard screen, and then you can see those 3 documents there that have already been created. The one that I created before earlier, the single document, is now in my posting history, which you can see here. So it's now posted, and on the right here we have the document number that was actually given to us from SAP.
This is great to see, especially with everything integrating and interacting with SAP. It seems like there's particular value at the end of the month when handling bulk uploads, which are now being replaced with automated processes. Are you able to step us through the architecture?
Yes, certainly. So the process starts with 3 different types of users. Those are the company code admins, the finance approvers, and then the finance submitters. They are able to do their entire role in the PowerPost app. We also have some data flows from SAP into Dataverse itself. In Dataverse, we are storing things like static data in SAP that doesn't really change over time. We're also storing the document data itself, and we're also storing data on the user so that they're able to validate against SAP. When a user logs in, we are making some calls to SAP through a back-end flow. What's happening there is it's actually collecting the data that they're able to use to post with into the app. So anytime that something changes within their SAP level access, it's also reflected in PowerPost. When a journal is ready to be posted, a status changes on the Dataverse in the header table, and essentially that will trigger a flow to write that data into SAP, where it will try to post, and depending on the journal itself. The results are captured also in Dataverse. So then the user is able to see the results of the posting, whether it was an error or it was successful, in the PowerPost app itself.
That's awesome. I love the way you're kind of bringing these technologies together. What I'd like to do, though, is I notice you're using Dataverse as that kind of almost staging location for your data, both for that static information and those documents that are being posted before it ends up in SAP. Can you share what kind of drove the decision to use Dataverse over other technologies like maybe SQL or SQL on Azure?
Yeah, sure. So we wanted to use Dataverse because that was really exciting. At the time, I think it was called Common Data Service. And within EY, it's very difficult to procure infrastructure, especially at a global level for this application. So Dataverse was a simple choice for us because it was already a part of the Power Platform suite, and we were able to ramp up or scale down the performance and capacity of Dataverse, and we're also able to control everything that was in there. There was also a lot of metadata that was being captured and auditing tables that was really useful for us to also diagnose and manage the app, which was also great.
That's awesome, and really great to see how you could bring, kind of that technology together, but that just really helped you kind of accelerate the development of that application as well. Now, EY is on the other side of this development. PowerPost is now in production. It's been handed over to the global support team. But as you look back over your time building the application, what are some of the challenges you faced and how did you address them?
Yeah, I think the major challenge that we faced, Ben, was our SAP security team. They were quite critical when we were close to the MVP deployment stage. EY standard process is that all of our new solutions need to get reviewed by security. And what they've noticed were some gaps in our solution. So it was kind of a setback in terms of our business case that we were trying to develop, where we had to go back and actually assess how we built the solution. We had to make a few changes and ultimately deploy a similar but different version of the application.
Well, it's great to hear that you're eventually able to meet those security requirements. One thing we like to cover on Customer Tech Talks are the key lessons you've learned. So looking back, Daront, what guidance would you give to others who are looking to build their own Power Platform applications, and any guidance on how to scale your application during peak load?
So Devin, I would say to that, the best thing that I would do, and I do again in a future project, is to develop towards an MVP state. That way you can meet the requirements of your business. Beyond that, continue to collect customer feedback. So some of the things that you saw in our app was the Excel ways of working, being able to upload with bulk upload. That was not something that was in the MVP state. That came after we got a lot of feedback. And then because of the power of low code, we were able to implement those changes relatively quickly, get more feedback, and so on.
That's great, and awesome lessons there. And I love how it kind of really illustrates that ability of you to be able to achieve more with less. You never really planned to have that multiple document upload originally, but continuing to grow the application as you went forward. Daront, thank you so much for taking time with us on Customer Tech Talks. It's been great to hear your journey and see where you're at now with this application.
Thank you for having me here.
It was really great to speak with Daront. I loved how they stepped through their process of engaging with the business early and how they use that SAP connector to really get an early win and show the functionality up front before they went forward into actually making the application itself. I also love how they leveraged Dataverse in their development process and how this accelerated their development process because they didn't need to provision new infrastructure.
Yes, I totally agree. This process really highlighted the Microsoft's cloud capability and breadth of our services. One thing I'm sure that many customers can relate to is spending time each month to complete operational processes manually, which can stifle innovation. This story is a great example of an organization optimizing their processes to really save time and do more with less.
That's right, and actually on that idea of doing more with less, I love the way they took the security principles out of SAP and leveraged those within their application. So rather than duplicating security controls and rights, they managed to do that all in one hit, which is awesome. And in addition to that, they spent time with their users to get feedback so they could develop new features that they could never deliver before with the multi-document upload functionality.
So if you want to get started building your own Power Platform applications leveraging Dataverse, or if you want to see how you can make the most of the SAP connector in your business, you can head to Microsoft.com/learn to get started. And of course, we are always looking for new stories. So if you want to be a part of future episodes, you can email us at cttalk@Microsoft.com.
Also, make sure you head to aka.ms/customer tech talks to subscribe to all the new episodes. Next time, we're going to hear from Żabka and how they're using Power Apps to accelerate innovation within their business, and also how this enables them to respond to events that are happening both inside and outside the organization. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you on the next Customer Tech Talks.